Yo, Jet Trades, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over how I made over $500 on my live account trading the NASDAQ. It was a pretty calm day today in the markets. I'm recording this super late because I literally took my trades and got off and was very productive today. Very happy with how I spent the day. And without further ado, let me get into the trades that I took today. So, coming into the week, if you watched my trade recap last night, I was pretty bearish coming into the market. If we go into replay mode, this was my view coming into the day. So we have overall really bearish structure still, in my opinion. Higher time frame, we're continuously respecting bearish imbalances until finally today, where we finally displace through and end up closing very high on the daily. So until this point, based off of how price was operating, I was looking for bearish. Not to mention that when we opened on the day, we just completely shot up with the 6 p.m. open with the Iran US negotiation talks. So whenever we have an untapped new day open, I always look for price to come back to that. So my targets was that, along with this just very obvious trendline liquidity. I mean, it doesn't get any more obvious that this is accumulation throughout Asia and London. So what do we do when we have a clear accumulation phase like this? Well, we look for some buy side level to get manipulated for then price. So we look for price to manipulate into some gap for it to then distribute, and that's exactly what we look for coming to the day. So ideally, I'm looking for either internal, I'm looking for some sort of reaction after an internal level swept, whether that be these internal morning highs or these previous equal highs up here. I was open to either or. But coming into the day, if we get into it here, 925, we open up, we shoot down, take out these internal lows, we top a 15-minute gap. So this was our internal manipulation to then go towards the buy side. So we come take out these internal highs. Within that, we also have this massive 15-minute gap right here, which price has been continuously respecting. So I'm looking for either price to take out these internal highs over here or just tap this gap somewhat and then look lower, because we don't have to come back all the way into the range to continue lower, because this is already a resistance level. Not to mention that if price is already bearish, we're not looking to necessarily make new highs in the market. We want to revisit an area of interest to then continue lower. You can also see right here that we have a lot of orders resting because this was a strong resistance level. So for the market to open and manipulate this area, it just makes sense in our grand scheme of the PL3. So with this in mind, I'm then looking to take some sort of short off of this. The first short that was technically presented was this 1 minute IFVG. As you can see right here, we have this displacing candle, and some IVG traders would take this, but in my opinion, it was just too early into the session. And with this also being aligned with the 9:30 open along with the previous 4 hour, I looked at this as more of a support zone for it to continue higher. Oftentimes when we have a manipulation like this and then a sell leg, we don't just dump straight down. We go pull back to around 50% of this, and then we'll look to continue higher, possibly remanipulate. That way we put in an internal low and then we'll run it. That's my idea of an ideal short, right? Because price doesn't just go up and down. It usually will stair step its way up. And that's exactly what happened here. We had this nice tap. As you can see, it taps the 0.62 level and immediately rejects higher. Now, I even seen some people take longs off of this. You could have taken this 30-second right here. This would be clean. You just simply target this above. That's very much a possibility. Not ideal RR for my case, but maybe like you'll take internal here and then look to target external here, and you know that definitely would have hit. But the first trade which I took was actually this inversion right here, and this was on my new My Funded Futures account. I took this inversion, and unfortunately, because of price's momentum here, I got filled about here, about 10 points more than I would have wanted, and I ended up risking about 40 points on this trade, like 35. I was targeting all these internal lows, and unfortunately, price just didn't want it yet. We very quickly rejected, and I got stopped out. And I'm not gonna lie, like for all I talk about for being disciplined, following my rules, I was a bit upset by this because I risked a lot more than I wanted to. I normally risk about 500 per trade on my evals, and I lost about 750 on this trade. And that's just because I got slippage and very quickly price went and stopped me out. And I guess it's my fault for trading in these conditions with mini contracts. I should have been sized at least with micros. So if I got slippage, I could scale out pretty quickly. But what happened, and I was stopped out. And ideally, um, my most disciplined self should be done for the day, or at least stepping away after a loss. That's not what I'm wanting to lose. But what happened. And I then, after seeing this 30-second go and get inversed, I decide, all right, you know what? This looks like a clean inversion to the upside. I'm going to look for price to kind of retest this area. And I'm going to still look to target my point of interest up here. This isn't a trade I particularly want to take, but this is an inversion fair value gap. It's a rejection off of this breakout level. So, you know, this isn't just like a completely random trade, but it's not aligned with my model. So I did break my rules here, and I admit to that. And because of the volatility, I was stopped out without even really being given a chance. It was just stupid. I waited for price to retap this about here, and I got stopped out like instantly. It didn't even give the trade a chance to breathe. I was just looking for like a small R trade, I guess to kind of recoup those losses, but I got violated instantly. And yeah, as you can see right here, it ran right back into that point of interest and stopped me out. And right here, you can see that price then goes and creates this double top right here and disperses. I actually got in this trade. Let me clear all this up. I got in this on my options account as my eval was done for the day. This was a very clean inversion value gap after making a double top here and closing with momentum. I was sized down later on options just because I had taken these previous losses, but my trade idea was here. So, you know, some people would maybe like perceive this as chasing. I honestly just look at it as like the market um, wasn't ready to make that move happen, but it was very obvious that we were having a reaction here, prices accumulating, and then we closed below this gap, which was previously holding with momentum. So to me, that's valid, and I'm willing to put risk on. This was my break-even level, and at this point, my cons went 20%. I took my partials, and as you can see right here, we go right back up, and I get stopped out on my remaining contracts. So this was a break-even trade. Unfortunately, it was like a 2% loss, I believe. Can't really do much about it. Again, super clean trade. It's just price wasn't ready for it. But then here, my final attempt was after we create a super clean 1 minute gap and inverse it instantly. Like this was T, and it was also during the macro from the 950 macro. So this was even cleaner than the other ones because we had our accumulation. We had a manipulation in a key macro, and we have a higher time frame inversion, this being on the 1 minute. So this was my final attempt, final trade on the day. If it would be a loss, break even, whatever, I'd be done, because it would be technically 2 trades on both accounts that I'm trading. But as you can see right here, with my stop placed above this inversion fair value gap, I was targeting these internal lows right here. Let me adjust my screen. I was targeting these internal lows along with all of this generated liquidity that I pointed out earlier. This just seemed like very clean trendline liquidity, and I love this trade. It couldn't have been any more obvious for me. And with this new week opening gap being untapped, I felt like even if this is a crazy move to expect, I mean, it's possible. I've seen the market being volatile, and with such a obvious in my head draw, I went for it. And as you can see right here, price fully ran to all of my TPs. I ended up taking partials at these internal lows, and then I was leaving a runner all the way to this new week opening gap. And then I end up getting stopped right here after price inverse this 30-second gap, just because according to my trailing stop, I just look for price to continuously respect bearish or whatever I'm taking trades imbalances to maximize my RR, because realistically for me it's not worth it that if price inverses this gap to risk holding it whatever to here back to break even, because at this point the trade is a 5 risk to reward, and if I'm trailing my stop to like recent highs, it's just killing my R. Like I lose a whole R for potentially a lot more R, but in my head right now, while I'm trying to maximize gains and just, make the most of my trades, I'd rather maximize my available reward on the trade versus untapped. It just makes sense in my head, and it allows me to stay most stable in my trades, because I know I can get a lot of FOMO and potentially revenge trade or do something stupid if I allow price to go all the way back and I give away a bunch of profit. Especially because, like, why would I not take this? The market has already moved 265 points, almost 1% in my direction. So to expect it to continue, even if it be an obvious draw, I'd rather not risk it. But I cashed out here. I banked over 200% on this final contract, and as you can see, price ran beautifully to this new week opening gap and rejected all the way back to the high of day after that. So it literally could have taken longs from there, which, had I missed this, maybe I would be looking for that, because it's fairly obvious our sell side objective got taken. But in my opinion, the sells from the morning were the most obvious thing to do, and I was fortunate enough to execute accordingly. I'll show you guys proof as well. Let me pop up my Robinhood real quick. What a banger day, though. I mean, lots of World Cup games to enjoy. This is my running contract right here. As you can see, it ran over 200% at where I exited. As you can see, the date 6/29. That was my final contract, and on the day, my phone doesn't recognize me. How do I track this? I don't know. Sorry guys, I can't show you the day P&L because it's already past midnight. But you've seen that one trade, and it doesn't really matter to me to prove it. Anyways, that was the trade for today. I want to be fully transparent. Not everything was correct today. Yes, I took a banger trade on my options account. Very happy with it. It's my biggest winning day of the year. But I wasn't the most disciplined on my evals. So you live and you learn. I journaled every single trade I took, and even trade ideas that I didn't take, like this long from the new week opening gap. And we move, and we will see you guys in the next day. Thank you if you made it to the end of this video. Hope you guys got some value from it. And yeah, it's James, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.